I really struggled today to find one item to define my cultural experience because I live in Coventry and there's a lot of things going on. I'm learning cello at the minute. That's a new thing. I bought my son's ukulele. I brought knitting needles because I once went to a knitting group. And also, in my daughter's school, there's the community library.
This is a place called The Edge, and for me it's a place to play in, to discover, to find and explore and create work from nothing to maybe a finished product.
This is a ticket from Coventry to London terminals, and it's where I spent a lot of my life, working at a university, living in another part of the country, going through London all the time. But it's also my idea of the Midlands, because for me it's the centre of the world. And there's no place that's more Midlands than Coventry Station.
I brought this hand-woven silk textile, which I made, which is part of a project called Permutations. It's about weaving and mathematics. And I bought it today because Coventry's got a very long and rich history of weaving, and particularly silk weaving.
This is just a piece of embroidery that I did on my machine, and I found it this morning when I was looking for an object about kind of culture in the city of Cov, what I think represents it in terms of an object. And I suppose it was just like I got struck by the words of this, and it was like actually beat, beat, beat makes my heart beat faster. Some of the things that you find in Cov, the surprises, the things that are hidden away, aside from the usual kind of spaces and places.
So those are performers in Crowd Out by American composer David Lang, which was premiered at Millennium Point in Birmingham. David Lang had this idea that he wanted to create this piece of music, performance art for 1,000 voices, all comers, no musical experience necessary, and started with a conversation in David Lang's New York loft apartment where he said, "I've wanted to do this piece for 10 years and no one will commission it."
These are the keys to City Arcadia, which is based in City Arcade in Coventry. And the City Council gave me these keys and gave me the building, which I just think is an incredible... It's just an incredible luxury, and I just feel incredibly proud that actually they trusted me. And it basically helps us do a project called City Arcadia in the middle of the city centre, and they're absolutely invaluable to my life.
It's wildly unglamorous. It's incredibly important. It's to do with letting people who are older, such as myself, I'm 62 3/4, people in their 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, get places for culture. So it's a culture access key.
It's great reading a report which summarizes all the lovely stats that you come across in different places, but how do you make something out of it? How do you actually implement that?
Looking at those gaps in the way in which education currently needs to be reformed, drawing in that, in the way in which culture kind of is the binding and the glue in terms of making sense of learning for young people.
But I think this is the first time for a long time that I've read something that I felt I could connect to in everything that Imagineer is doing. And I think it's wonderful, but how can we play a part now in that?
I think really inspiring to hear so many common ideas being articulated from people in such completely different sectors.
My passion and my personal bit comes with the STEM and the STEAM in terms of arts education, and just simply, I suppose, not just educating, but exploring opportunity. You know that arts might be viable business in a kind of business sense, economically, etc. But if you use that argument, then what happens? What is it that you're arguing for, and where does the cultural aspect go? Where does that just arts for art's sake aspect go?
What I hope though is it's not just a conversation, because to be quite honest, I've had this conversation a lot, and what would be nice is that talk becomes action what would be great is the sense of support that we have here, that it is taken forward somehow and it's meaningful.
Yeah, I've come up from Bath today, not because I know anything about kind of culture in Coventry, but more because I'm interested in the ideas of what works here and kind of how the commission's being kind of put into place here, so I can take that back to Bath again and kind of go, look, this is how Coventry are doing it, this is the ideas that are coming out of the report, this is the support they're getting from these areas, how can we take this and make this work in Bath?
It's been a fairly late